Evening, guys. Here we are live from the kitchen. I know it's been a real long time since I did a video. Had a lot of people wanting me to do a reading, and I decided to do one tonight. I'm going to call this reading Breed 'em Like You Want to Keep 'em, because I've had so many people that have expressed to me how that they asking the questions on how you maintain a family. And you maintain a family by breeding them like you want to keep them. That's how you maintain a family. The reading I'm going to do tonight is on the Wisconsin Red Shufflers, and I'm not real knowledgeable about this bloodline, but there was an article in it, a paragraph in this article that intrigued me, and it relates to what we're going to talk about. So I'm going to read that article and or that paragraph. That article is on these Wisconsin Red Shufflers, and the guy who wrote it was by David W. Janke. It's out of the Gamecock magazine back in the 90s. And he's going to be talking talking about his visits with Hardhat Gratz and Harry Young, which is two of the Wisconsin Red Shuffler fame, that the guys that made them and that maintained them. And before we start, I'm going to talk about breeding them like you want to keep them. What that means is when you get a family of chickens, say you have two families, you buy two families of chickens, you're just getting into this business. Breed them pure first. Make sure you got pure ones of both of your bloodlines, of ever how many bloodlines you got, because that's the way you keep them. Don't get them and start crossing them right off the bat, because then all you're going to have some crosses to go to if something was to happen bad. But if you breed them pure first, you're going to have something to go to always to be able to maintain them pure. But what we're going to talk about here is, and what intrigued me about this article is, these guys seen something they didn't like in some chickens, and instead of destroying these chickens, they knew where the bad was coming from, and they found something good, and they put with them, and it made those good ones. And without further ado, let's read this little paragraph right here. And I'm picking it up right in the middle. And I've told you who wrote the article, who he had spoken with and visited with and was friends with. And so these guys had told him the real deal, what really happened. And we'll pick it up right here in the middle. He's going to say, Hardhat had raised the Pierce, Wisconsin Shufflers before 1952, but he purchased some directly from Dudley Pierce shortly before his death. So he bought some more chickens from Mr. Pierce, the Pierce Shufflers. Pierce called them his brickyards because that's where they were kept. Many cockers will often think of them as cottontails. The cottontails had gull in them. And as Hardhat and Harry Young both stated to me both stated to him that many of these were not game. The dark ones, the brickyards, were dead game. Back in 1931 or so, Mr. Pierce had traded some birds with Wingate. That's the reason it intrigued me, because y'all know I'm kind of fond of the Wingate chickens. Added it was out of this line that the brickyards came to be. That's what he did, is he seen these chickens were going bad, that he had went the wrong way when he made these cottontails. So he knew he had some good chickens there. And he also knew Mr. Wingate had some really good chickens. So you know what he done. He got some chickens from Mr. Wingate, and he added them to these Shuffler chickens. So your Shuffler chickens have got Wingate in them. And the good ones. Because he openly says that both the two men that made this stuff and raised them cottontails went cold on them. So instead of destroying everything they had, goes back to breeding them pure first. They had the pure stuff of the good stuff, and they added the Wingate blood to it, and it made them their brickyards, which they were satisfied with. See, that directly relates to what we're talking about. I'll finish this paragraph. The picture cock was a brickyard, as was Thunder. Thunder is a cock that was very famous among these Wisconsin red shuffler people. Thunder, they go on and on about him. He was a heck of a rooster. Many people have purchased pure shufflers only to cross them, and many have let the bloodline suffer. In other words, they didn't keep them pure, just like we just talked about. Hardhat and his friend Harry Young line bred them pure. These guys didn't make these families by being no dummy. It goes all the way back to every one of my readings. These guys find something that works and they keep it. They don't keep searching. You can search for the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. That don't mean you're ever going to find it. It's better to keep that sure money you got in your pocket. That's what they're doing with these chickens. Hardhat, like Harry Young stated, that he lost a few fights with the shufflers, but won the majority. He lost a few, like anybody's going to do that competes, but they won the majority. He was satisfied with the bloodline. And this is going to be his brickyards. The ones had the Wingate blood in them. The Cottontails went cold on them. He would not have been able to keep these, and I'm going to end that right there. He would not have been able to keep this family of chickens had he jumped out there and started crossing them into everything in the country, because they'd have got away from him. And you can call it blending. You can call it adding blood. You can call it whatever you want to. But anytime you take an inferior bloodline, that means another bloodline from someone else, from another yard that isn't the exact makeup of your chickens, you are crossing. Make no doubt about it. You're creating another cross. You're changing the genetic outlook of these fowl forever. There's no getting it out once you put it in. So therefore, it's real important that we keep our good stuff, to just put it in plain old horse sense. You keep searching and searching and adding this. And see, we don't add blood at my farm. We don't add blood. We don't want nobody else's chickens. There's some real good ones out there. I don't want them. I'm completely satisfied with everything I have. Now, one more thing I want to get off on right now, and I hope everybody understands what these men done and what I tried to tell you. When you get them, you breed them like you want to keep them. If my father had not bred our brown reds and our gravedigger chickens and our Kelsos, Mr. McKnight and my father with the Kelsos, if they hadn't bred those chickens like they wanted to keep them, we wouldn't have them today. They bred them pure. They showed them pure, and they satisfied them. That's the reason that we done this, and that's the reason we still have them today. If it wasn't for those guys, well, I wouldn't have them. I'd have been just like the rest of you guys. I'd be out there looking for something. Not the rest of you. Some of you have great files. Some of you still looking. So, that being said, I want to get to one more thing. I had a lot of people give me comments all the time about, I look at a picture and I see your roosters and I can just tell it's your rooster right off the bat because they look different than other people's roosters. And they all look the same. I had a young man the other day messaged me and asked me, said, it don't matter what breed you have that you're showing a picture of. I can tell it's your roosters because they all have the same look, and I love that look. Well, that's not accident, and I'm not patting myself on the back, but I'm just going to give you a little hint of how it's done. Once you have a family and you choose to keep that family, and that family satisfies you in every way, and you're breeding pure. What you want to look for then is your individual specimens, because you can do that, because you'll have a wide selection of this family. You pick out the specimens of these birds that suit you, that give you what you want to know, because what you breed is what you're going to have. I'm very particular in what I put into my foundation stuff. And I say foundation, that means the ones I'm going to breed myself. I'm not going to sell him. And that don't mean he's any better or any worse, but if I take him away from my foundation, then I'm taking away from my foundation. It's going to take away from my customers. Because anybody buys a rooster from me, they're going to get out of our foundation. They're just not going to get the one I'm breeding. Now, sometimes I will let one go that I bred, but most of the time the foundation stuff is going to be at my farm forever. And it's going to make my farm better. It's going to make my customers' chickens better. I hope it's making it better because I tried to pick good birds. And there's certain characteristics I look for in a chicken that might not suit other people, and that's fine. But that's the reason all my roosters look alike, as far as you look at the way they're built, and you look at all that. They look a little different, like the guy said, than most chickens. It's because it's the way they're picked. Whatever you're putting in your brood pens is what you're going to get out of your brood pens. And I have body types I like, and it don't matter what breed he is, that's the body type I'm going with. And that's the way it's always been. That's the way it's always going to be. But that's how you do that. It's through individual selection. Be real careful about what you're going to put in your brood pen as far as your foundation stuff, and you'll get those characteristics that suit you. I personally, and I'm going to, say one thing. I like a medium high station rooster. And I don't want a rooster. Myself, I don't want a rooster too long-legged. Now, station and legs have nothing to do with each other. A high station rooster can have a 2-inch leg. Your station and his legs mean they don't. There's nothing to. A long-legged rooster is a long-legged rooster. I don't want a rooster too tall. I don't like a rooster too tall. I don't like him too short, of course. But if he's too tall, he has a problem with his balance, and that makes him not move well. That's not a good thing. It's a good thing if you're taking pictures of them. Kinda. Sometimes they're so tall they don't, to me, but it's just my personal opinion. I like a rooster not too tall, and I like a medium-high station rooster, a medium to a medium-high station rooster. That's just my personal preference, and a certain body type. Everything's got to be positioned. The way everything fits on his body is going to be the most important thing with him or the hen, and that's how I get them that way. And that's going to give you guys some knowledge of how you do that for you guys that don't understand that yet, and this stuff's new to you. But first thing you want to make sure is he has everything that you want. His heart's there. He has all the other attributes before you start. Because without all the internal things that makes him a game rooster, all the external things don't matter. So, that being said, the old timers called it confirmation. And I look for perfect confirmation that suits me. Now, we read that article. Those guys were on the money. They almost lost the bloodline, but they were smart enough to be honest with themselves and get the chickens the way they wanted them by getting rid of a certain bloodline and adding to the base bloodline, which was very good. And I hope this helps you guys. Happy Halloween. God bless y'all. Good night.